Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today, mostly because we are tackling something that I think almost all of us feel, but kind of struggle to put into words. We're investigating modern tech fatigue. You know that feeling, right? That totally exhausting constant cycle of hardware upgrades, software updates, and just the overwhelming barrage of new features. So today, we're going to break down this treadmill of our digital lives, and much more importantly, we're going to figure out exactly how to build an off-ramp. So, I want to start by posing this highly relatable question directly to you. Why doesn't buying a new smartphone or trying out a brand new AI tool feel magical anymore? Think about it for a second. There is this massive, breathless hype around devices like the iPhone 16 Pro or the absolute latest AI integrations. But when we actually get our hands on them, the reality is just entirely underwhelming. The magic seems to vanish almost instantly. So what's going on here? Why is that? Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. 1. The technology satisfaction gap. 2. The philosophy of technology. 3. Planned obsolescence and circularity. 4. Digital minimalism and AI. And 5. Reclaiming your digital life. We're going to connect psychology, ancient philosophy, economics, and your daily habits. Starting right off with Section 1. The technology satisfaction gap, or basically, why new tech gets so boring so fast. Look, if you felt frustrated recently after dropping a bunch of money on a new device, your feelings are completely valid. Both the hardware we hold and the software we use are currently suffering from a really serious case of diminishing returns. And a huge reason for this is something called hedonic adaptation. Basically, this is the psychological process where we quickly revert back to a baseline state of happiness after a drastic change. Think about when you first used a generative AI tool, right? It felt like absolute magic. But a week later, you were probably annoyed it took 3 whole seconds to generate a response. Researchers studying AI adoption note that our satisfaction actually follows a logarithmic path. We get this massive, brief spike of initial excitement, but then we rapidly adapt. Those mind-blowing new capabilities literally just become our new, boring baseline expectations. And that creates a massive long-term satisfaction gap. And honestly, this psychological baseline perfectly explains the smartphone stagnation we're seeing today. Upgrading has, ironically, become way too easy because seamless transfer tools like Apple's Quick Start or Samsung's Smart Switch flawlessly clone your old phone onto your new one. Your brand new $1,000 device feels entirely identical on day one. I mean, the wallpaper, the apps, the layout, it is exactly what you were looking at yesterday. Sure, the hardware might have a fancy new button, but your brain registers the exact same experience. The magic is quite literally gone before the battery even drains. Let's move to and see how this builds into Section 2, the philosophy of technology from Techne to Gestel. To really wrap our heads around our troubled relationship with these tools, we kind of have to zoom out and look at how philosophers predicted this exact predicament ages ago. See, in the ancient world, technology wasn't viewed as a way to just blindly dominate the earth. The ancient Greek concept of techne viewed craft knowledge as an imitation or completion of nature. Similarly, classical Chinese philosophy integrated technical skill with cosmic harmony. Think of the famous Taoist story of Cook Ding carving an ox. His technical mastery emerged through harmony with the natural patterns of the world, not through some external, forceful control over it. And that is a stark contrast to our modern obsession with extraction and endless scale. Fast forward to the 20th century, and thinkers really began raising the alarm. Martin Heidegger argued that the hidden essence of modern technology is what he called Gestell, or end-framing. Thinkers like Heidegger and Jacques Ellul viewed modern tech as this monolithic, deterministic force. It's a system that prioritizes its own efficiency and power over actual human welfare, or even the integrity of the biosphere. It's no longer just a tool in our hands, right? Instead, it's an invisible framework, one that forces us to behave in certain highly efficient but ultimately exhausting ways. Which brings us to Section 3, planned obsolescence and circularity breaking the linear loop. We can see Heidegger's deterministic force alive and well today in our modern economy. Companies are basically forcing us onto this hardware upgrade treadmill to feed their own efficiency and profit margins. And they do this using 3 main strategies of planned obsolescence. First, you've got functional obsolescence. That happens when a new product simply outperforms the old one. Then there's technological obsolescence, which is way more insidious. This is when parts rapidly degrade, or worse, when firmware and software updates intentionally slow down your older devices or create sudden incompatibilities. And finally, aesthetic obsolescence. This relies on superficial redesigns. A slightly different phone color or a shifted camera lens. just to make your perfectly fine device feel outdated to the people around you. And the result of all these strategies? It is a total ecological nightmare. 18%. Just let that sink in. In 2019, less than 18% of global e-waste was actually collected and recycled. The constant smartphone upgrade cycle, driven entirely by this planned obsolescence, carries a massive, unsustainable environmental cost that we are just largely ignoring, as mountains of rare earth metals pile up in landfills. So what do we do? Well, the solution requires completely breaking our linear loop. We have to move away from the incredibly wasteful buy and trash model, where we just extract, produce, and generate e-waste. Instead, the circular economy offers a real systemic fix. It demands that we rethink business models from the ground up to prioritize a product's lifespan through interconnected tiers. Instead of just trashing a device, the economy is structured around repair, reuse, remanufacturing, and then finally, recycling. And the good news is we are starting to fight back at a systemic level. Real industry solutions are emerging to combat this stuff. For example, check out the French Index of Repairability. It mandates a 0 to 10 scale on electronics, which is a total game changer because it empowers consumers to know exactly how fixable a device is before they even buy it. And when you pair that with collaborative networks like iFixit, who provide those incredibly detailed repair guides, we are slowly but surely putting the power to make sustainable hardware choices back into the hands of the consumer. Okay, moving on to Section 4, Digital Minimalism and AI, Quality over Quantity. So we've talked a lot about the systemic and hardware side of things, but now let's shift gears to your personal behavior. How do we actually navigate this insanely crowded digital landscape and the AI hyper-personalization coming at us? The absolute crucial point here is understanding the true cost of our digital habits. Constant connectivity just feeds us through endless dopamine loops, leading to severe cognitive fragmentation. The switching costs of bouncing between notifications all day long literally lowers our functional IQ, no joke. In contrast, digital minimalism is this highly sophisticated philosophy. It's not about just abandoning the modern world and moving to the woods. It's about restricting your online time strictly to high-value activities that actually support your goals. Doing this makes room for deep focus and highly intentional asynchronous communication. And what's super fascinating here is the paradox of how we might actually achieve this. Enter minimalist AI agents. We can actually use the very predictive AI tools that threaten our attention to act as a buffer to protect it. So instead of endlessly scrolling a dozen different news sites, an AI agent can provide a concise text-only summary of the specific topics you actually care about. You're essentially using the technology to filter the chaos, so you end up spending significantly less time on the technology itself. Kind of brilliant, right? Finally, let's hit Section 5, Reclaiming Your Digital Life, Practical Steps for 2026. We are wrapping up with some highly practical, everyday advice on how you can step off this hedonic treadmill, refresh your digital life, and stop feeling that constant pressure to upgrade. Now, what's really interesting about this is how simple these changes actually are. You can do a 30-day digital declutter to fully reset your baseline. Use a one-in, one-out rule for apps so your phone doesn't just turn into a cluttered mess. Shift your screen to grayscale. That instantly makes it way less psychologically stimulating. And hey, if your phone feels boring, please don't buy a new one. Change your wallpaper, install a fresh Android launcher like Nova or Lawnchair, or slap on a physical deep brand leather skin. A fresh coat of digital paint can literally make an old phone feel brand new. And the best part? It doesn't create any e-waste. If you are feeling overwhelmed right now, here are 3 immediate, completely actionable steps you can start today. Step 1, audit your notifications. Just go right into your settings and turn off everything except direct messages from actual human beings. Step 2, define your top 3 values. If an app on your home screen doesn't directly support them, delete it. Step 3, establish tech-free zones. Keep those screens far away from the dining table, and most importantly, keep your phone entirely out of the bedroom. Trust me, your sleep will thank you. At the end of the day, choosing to put your device away is absolutely not a sacrifice. By stepping off the treadmill of constant upgrades and endless scrolling, you are taking back your own agency. So I'll leave you with this question. What incredible things are you truly gaining when you finally turn off the noise and reclaim your attention? Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.